Bean, I would like to say that prior to hopping on this ep, we were just talking about our levels of rage toward I will say we both don't normally feel this way, but we were both sharing our internal levels of continued rage towards certain individuals in our lives. And it was comical. And it was like, all right, now let's do our forgiveness
Talk
episode,
about
shall we?
forgiveness. We were raging out. And I just have to say, I found something out about my best friend, which is that she's considered sending
Don't say
something
it,
called.
don't say it.
No, you're not
Don't,
doing it.
no, don't say it. I
Why?
might do it because I might
No,
do
you're
it.
not.
I
I
don't
have
want
to
to be
say
incriminated.
It's called a spring-loaded penis bomb.
This is so not like me.
This is someone she has rage towards.
I can't believe you're putting
Let me
this
just
out
read.
there.
I have to
Putting this on
read the
blast.
description. When you click on the link for the spring-loaded penis bomb, it says, "Oh, the joy of having hundreds of tiny penises bombarding you and decorating your surroundings because regular confetti just doesn't cut it. Perhaps even include a 'You suck' sticker on the end of the spring
cute.
for maximum impact."
I was not really going to do
bomb
it. And how dare you for calling me out? I mean, now I'm going to send a penis popper, dick popper to you.
You probably will.
And now I'm going to say, you suck. I'm adding the you suck sticker for $1.50.
It's just funny that we're getting ready to talk about forgiveness and you're plotting penis bomb.
I can't believe I sent that to you in private and you just called me out. Also, how does one wear these tank tops?
That's good. Pull it down a little. Pull it down a little. Yeah.
It feels like I'm so exposed.
That's good.
I don't feel
we like it. For those of you that have not watched this show on YouTube, this would be the
check
time.
it out. Go check out my awkwardly placed tank top.
How was your week? You got anything cringy, delightful?
I forgot to think of something.
Okay. How about I go first and then you go? Why don't you ask me how my week was?
Bean. Let's stop talking about my pale arms hanging out of this tank top and talk about if you have a cringe or a delight.
It's like the first time you thought about that idea. I have a delight. Ooh. A delightful delight.
Ooh, I have a delight too. Maybe be a delightful day.
Okay, let's make it delightful. Okay. My delight is related to whales.
Nothing says middle age like delight over whales.
Or weather. Okay? Touche to you.
That's just an East Coast thing.
Here's the delight. I was listening to a podcast. Actually, very news-oriented podcast, The Daily from the New York Times.
All right.
And today's episode was about how scientists are discovering, maybe, they're researching, do whales have an alphabet they use to communicate?
No way.
Yes.
Do you know
and the whole...
Oh. Sorry. I was gonna give you tips. I was gonna give you some facts right now about whales. Do you know whales are the only mammals who were on land and then they were like, fuck this, and went back in the water?
Really?
Yeah.
Whales?
Do you think there's something to that? Like they were like, this is nope, not for us.
Not up here. Back down there.
These idiots. Yeah.
Well, so they talked about sperm whales and how researchers have been since the 70s, like studying sperm whales. And in fact, in the 70s, they started to discover that humpback whales sing, and they produced an album of humpback whales singing. And it was like a best-selling record.
I love that.
Yeah. So let's go humpback whales with your top charting.
Get it, humpback.
Top chart.
Topping the chart today. Humpback whales. Oh my God, this is like Ron Burgundy.
Okay, anyway, I promise we're going to get this back on track. Yep. So these sperm whales, they keep researching them, and basically they're like making these sounds that are like making different patterns of clicks. So it'll be like click, click, pause, click, or like whatever it is. And so they're charting them all out.
Yeah.
And they're noticing that like there's different patterns. Mm-hmm. So is it possible that the different patterns are putting letters together? Is there an alphabet they're using to communicate?
I'm going to say stop your studies. The answer is yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't even waste your money. The answer is
if
yes.
That's true, that's as like mind-blowing and life-changing as finding life on another planet.
I mean, I agree. The ocean is like another planet.
It's true. Have you ever seen those giant squid? They are aliens.
Oh, shit. Did you ever watch Blackfish? I mean, I really don't even want to go here right now. But how the mama whales would sob and get so depressed when they take their babies.
I don't
I
like
know.
this.
I'm just
I was
saying
saying
these
it and
whales
you, of
are what's
course.
up. Yeah.
What have we noticed about you?
Some Debbie
Bean is
Downer.
Debbieist downer of all of them, and she'll take something that is so like it'll be like something light. We were actually laughing about this. We were here in California when she came to visit, and we were having this like
Don't share
sunny,
this.
beautiful day on the beach, and we went and sat down, and we were like laughing and so joyous. And maybe gummies were involved, and we
You're
were
just going
having
to
the
tell this
best
story and
time.
you're going to act like it just came out of nowhere. There was somehow it came up.
We were
Whatever.
having the best time and we were laughing. And then Bean kept bringing up these like depressing subjects of like, did you know when my grandfather died? Blah, blah. And I'd be like, and I kept being like, Bean, stop, like, come on, let's keep it light. Let's keep it, frothy. Let's have a good time.
Ooh,
And then
frothy.
she'd be like, oh, you're totally right. Hee hee. And then she'd bring up, oh my God, did you hear about the dog that got hit
Oh
by a
my
car? I'm like, Bean,
God.
you're doing it. So anyway, I reminded her of it 3 times and then we're like
God damn
laughing,
it.
we're having a great time. And then
We're
she
laughing.
literally, in all seriousness, looks me dead in the eye and goes, Bean, what's it like that you don't talk to your dad anymore?
I You
So
are painting me to be a huge asshole in this episode.
you
And
are not an asshole.
I don't forgive you. How about that transition? I
Oh, no.
don't forgive you.
Okay, well, listen,
I
you're
am
not
not
an
an
asshole.
asshole.
You
And
have.
I've gotten way more positive as I've gotten older. Don't you think I
It's
really
true.
try to be better about it? So don't say
It's
it.
a habit. It's a habit.
Just
It's
don't say
okay.
it.
Okay, all right. I love you. I accept you as you are. Tell me about your week. Cringe,
I
delight.
don't
What do you
forgive
got?
you. I don't know when this is going to air, but we've had the most amazing house guest staying with us. And I have to be honest, I typically don't really like people in my house for much more than like 2 days. I'm like, that was good. Time to go. Like, I enjoyed your company, but it's time for my own space. And Corey's cousin came in for the mitts from Israel. I'll never stop talking about the mitzvah.
We have been talking about the mitts for 5 months.
People are going to be like, get over it. It's time to get over
truly.
it. But I
I
can't.
feel like we should get over it.
Okay,
But
well,
no,
I'm
keep
not.
going.
But he came in from Israel. He was the only family member who was able to make it in from there. And he has been staying with us. And I have to tell you, you know him. You know Mikey. He's the freaking best. He has enlightened every single one of us in this house on the daily. Like, he has been here for weeks and he'll do these like little day trips. Like, he's in New York right now. We're going to go meet him later. And his presence, the absence of his presence is felt so deeply among every single one of us. He's been like making these massive home cooked meals. He's inspired like my kids. He's inspired me and Corey. Like, Corey has been like the best version of himself for weeks because Mikey just has this, he just has this je ne sais quoi about him. All
Good
right.
one.
Oh, yes. That it's like, it's magnetic and he pulls you
Yeah.
in, right? And he just has had the best influence. I'm like, do I just force you to live in my home for eternity?
I think that's called captivity.
In captivity. Yes. That sounds nice.
He is so wonderful. I agree.
Right? Isn't he?
He's got something to him. He's got a little special sparkle.
Yeah, one of my college roommates actually just texted. This was like weeks ago. And she was like, I meant to say, he's so wonderful. He has like a sparkle in his eye.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
literally what she wrote.
He does. Yeah, he does. No, he's incredible. I agree.
Yeah, there's just
I
something.
love that for you.
Yeah, he's really
And the
added like the
kids.
most special element of love into this home. Not that it wasn't already present, but he's really like just so, his stories are amazing. His attitude is amazing.
He does dishes. He cooks.
Oh my God. He's so self-sufficient. Like, he's the only person.
Corey
in
better
this
watch
house
his back.
I don't have to take care of. He's just lovely. He's been just such a lovely addition. And for me to be tolerant of someone being in my house for weeks on end is like, speaks volumes.
Mikey, don't leave us.
Don't leave.
Stay forever.
Stay forever.
I love that for you, Bean. I love that you have that.
Me too. Thanks.
Enjoy it. Well, that was nice. All right. Great. Well, I don't have anything to make fun of you for that for. So thanks for
good, because I still already
ruining
don't forgive
it.
you.
I know. All right. Well, let's talk about. Maybe you'll forgive me by the end of this episode.
I feel like our banter is getting more like unintelligent as the weeks go on. I don't even, by the end of our banter, I'm always like, what the hell is happening here?
What are we doing? What are we talking about again?
In life. Go.
Why did we want to talk about forgiveness, Bean? Tell us.
We were realizing as we discussed it that forgiveness and letting go and not holding on to things that no longer serve us is a very important part of this self-actualization journey, which is basically our whole goal here is to help everybody be the best version of themselves. And a big part of that is really, in our opinion, letting go. And I think Bean will have some excellent tips on how to do that.
Oh, no pressure.
No pressure. Why don't you start? How about you give us a real quick intro like we like to do? I don't think we're going to do a lot of history on this one,
No, there's no
but
history of forgiveness.
why don't we talk about what actual forgiveness looks like
Yeah.
versus reconciliation? Because you can move
Mm.
on from something without forgiving, which is something I actually struggle with sometimes myself. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping to get your wise input today.
Okay. So forgiveness, let's just start by defining it. It's really just this process of letting go of resentment, of anger, a desire for revenge towards someone who's wronged you. Like it's just letting go
Like
of
sending penis
like
poppers.
penis popper bombs. Um, it's just letting go of that energy of resentment, of anger, of holding on to the moment in time that the person harmed or I think also continues to harm you. This is part of the problem with forgiveness is like sometimes it's not a past event. It's like
Right.
this person continues to create harm in your life. So
Like when
it's
your
the
best
idea
friend
of
calls you out for the penis popper and then tells you you're a Debbie Downer, like that kind of stuff, like back to
right.
back to back hurt and
Yes.
pain. Yeah.
Yes, that kind of pain. So when that happens, we hold on to that and we carry it and carry it and carry it and carry it. And so the idea of forgiveness in, a self-growth journey is that it's holding you back from achieving your maximum potential and impact and ability to experience this life every day in an open, present, joyous way
Right.
because you're holding on to something that's robbing you of that joy and that presence. So that's forgiveness. Reconciliation then comes from that act of forgiveness where you're able to come back together with someone who's created harm, hopefully at a higher level with a new set of agreements, spoken or unspoken, about how you're going to coexist in a way that is beneficial to one another rather than harmful.
I think you can also reconcile without forgiveness, but it may not always work because the resentment then still lies underneath the
I just don't
surface.
see how it works. I think a lot of us do reconcile without
Right.
forgiveness. I think
That's
you
what
see
I
this
mean.
in marriage a lot. Or
What?
intimate partnership
Yeah.
where it's like I just gotta like get
Suck it
along. What do
up.
I always say? Go along to get along. I always
You
get
said
this
something
wrong.
like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It
Um,
made sense when
but
you just said it.
yeah, but like that, it's like I'm just gonna suck it up, like you said. But that's more like sweeping shit under the rug that I think creates massive obstacles in your relationship down the road. So I would just say I don't know that there's actual reconciliation without the act of forgiveness, which is letting go of the resentment and the
Agreed.
anger.
You're right. You're so
Um,
wise.
Being
Yes.
curious though, like what do you feel like your relationship to forgiveness is in your life?
So, hmm. So I tend to, I don't like to hold on to anger. I don't like to
Mm-hmm.
feel anger. That's why this penis popper private conversation I had with you was so shocking because I tend to not harp on things like that. I
Right.
believe in moving forward. I believe people make mistakes. I believe very much in forgiveness. I think it's critical. I don't believe in vengeance and that kind of nonsense. I feel like since you've known me, that's kind of been consistent, correct?
Absolutely.
But in the sake, I will say, Bean's been telling me to loosen up a little more and share more on this pod because she thinks that sometimes I'm keeping things closer to the chest than I should be
A
since we're all being
little.
vulnerable here.
Yeah.
Um, I will say I struggle with it tremendously in my marriage. That when it's
Mm-hmm.
been, like a consistent behavior, I always have to do this and say, I'm not like saying that my husband's this wretched human. I'm just saying when you're in a relationship of this length and you're raising children together and you're in the same space constantly, a lot of things come up and a lot of issues come up. And I
Mm-hmm.
do struggle a lot with truly forgiving. It's a lot of sweeping under the rug. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm now in a place where I'm so cognizant of it, and it feels very uncomfortable to me that will sit, like, and he'll do something that is so minor, and if you look at it, objectively, it seems like nothing. But I feel like I haven't forgiven him about past behaviors. That when he does this one tiny thing, I'm completely immediately like internally erupting.
Yeah.
And I do want, because I really believe that that's not healthy. I don't believe in
Yeah.
holding on to resentment. I don't believe in holding on to anger. I think it eats away at your soul and eats away
Yeah.
at who you are as a human. And I know it eats away at who I am. I think that's a big reason I release it a lot. For me to not forgive you, you have to have done something like very damaging. I just feel like in my marriage, it's just when it's repeated behaviors and things that we've verbalized and talked about, I'm going to jump right into asking for your advice. How do you
Oh, okay.
forgive when,
I thought you were going to be
when,
curious about my relationship
oh,
to
I would like to
forgiveness.
know your relationship too.
You're still
How
angry
about
with
that?
me, so you're not curious about.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
All right, fine. I'll just lay it
No,
out
no,
and
no.
then
I'm
I'll
kidding.
ask you.
No, ask.
Okay, okay. I don't know how to do it. With everybody else in
Yeah.
my life, it's very easy for me. It's like, okay, they probably weren't coming from a bad place. And truthfully, that's often the case with my husband also. But
Yeah.
I'm unable physically to let it go in lots of ways. And I'm truly hoping that this episode provides that clarity for me. Go.
We can't get to that clarity until we unpack why I hate that word.
What?
Unpack.
Why? It's a
Until
good
we get,
word.
because it's so overused, but we're going to use it. Until we
Okay, let's
unpack
unpack it.
the obstacles to forgiveness. Why is it so hard to
Yeah.
forgive? I think that, in my worldview, there are a few of these obstacles that are pretty common to all of
Right.
us. The first is that the action that's harming you is continuing.
Right. Like we talked about up top with your friend just repeatedly doing things to you.
Right.
No,
But
I'm
I
just
do
kidding.
think that some of the stuff in a marriage, for example, that
Right.
you bring up,
Yeah.
that you're working on forgiving is still present. And so it's hard
Right. Right.
to forgive when the action is currently happening. Like, how do you
Right.
reconcile that in your head? I'm going to
Right.
forgive you, but yet you're still not picking up the kids on Fridays when I ask you to,
Right.
so I can go to
Right.
yoga. Like, how do you reconcile that? That's the first obstacle. Another obstacle to forgiveness, and hey, if you're listening and you want to use this show as a tool to your own self-development, what I'd love for you to do is like go through this inventory with us and just check in with yourself. Where do you find the most common obstacles to forgiveness for you? So beyond the repeated behavior, it's this notion that you have that forgiveness is somehow weakness, that you're not going to demonstrate strength if you forgive. And that can be implanted culturally. It can be implanted by a family system. It can be implanted by watching other people who you perceived as weak and not wanting to be anything like them, for example. But this idea that by forgiving we are weak, which is a complete limiting belief system, and we'll get into why, but that can be a huge obstacle to forgiveness, is that you
Right.
don't want to be weak. The other is like, there are some deep, deep wounds from the harming party that go unprocessed for a very long time.
Right.
And if they're unprocessed, then we haven't actually let them go, which makes forgiveness really, really hard. And I think we find this in our healing journey. For those of you that are on this like deep healing journey, you'll recognize this. Bean and I talk about this and share this in common. As we're healing, there's things in our families and relationships in our families where we're like, uh-oh, like that was repeated harm that you didn't mean to do, but you've done it. And yes, it was in the past, and yes, it was 20 years ago, but it's literally shifted my paradigm for life in a way that's holding me back.
Right.
And when you recognize that harmful behavior has contributed to you being less than your maximum potential right now, or existing in a state of suffering currently in your life, it's really hard to forgive that because it has a current impact.
Right.
That wound is so deep. So
Totally.
those are some of the things that I notice as really common. The other thing in our culture that's really happening more than anything right now is that we really feel a strong need, because we're so divided and separate, to be right.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
And this need to be right is making us unforgiving of people who we think are wrong. rather than, well, this is my worldview because these are my experiences and needs, and this is your worldview because these are your experiences and needs. And listen, there is wrong and right. I mean, there is like things that are just,
I mean, I'm thinking,
for example, bodily autonomy in women.
I was just
Like,
gonna say, but how do you forgive? I was just gonna
yeah,
use that as an
no,
example. Like, I don't really forgive you for attempting to take that away from me. I
totally.
don't forgive
Yeah.
you.
And I promise you, I'm not going to give you an answer on this episode because
Oh
I'm
man.
in process myself
Right.
but again, that's about creating consistent harm too. So
True.
I think that we, though, just a watch out, a call out is like, how much are you trying to be right versus how much are you just trying to be honest about how you feel and what you need? Those are two very different things. And
Okay.
sometimes we so need to be right that we can't forgive others who also need to be right. So they're mirroring back the same thing to us. So I don't know. Do you see yourself in any of those obstacles?
I think mostly no, not a lot of them. That's why it's all very unusual to me. But I do see in that consistent level of hurt that hasn't been unpacked,
Right. Yeah.
primarily in my marriage. But I can see there, there are elements in other people in my life as I am going through this journey myself where I'm like, oh, wait a second. What?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my relationship to forgiveness is so similar to when we were talking about trust. I can dole forgiveness out so hot and heavy, like
Yeah.
so quickly.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Is it genuine
And
though then?
yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think I'd give it out pretty quickly because I believe in it.
Yeah. I think I need for the people in my life to be, in my mind, forgivable, or else I can't reconcile while they're in my life. So like I'll give it to them almost as a like, you need to be in this high frequency space, or I don't even know how to be in relationship with you. And I have found in my first marriage that my relationship to forgiveness was what enabled so much bad behavior and so much harm done to me
So how do you
because I
reconcile
let it
that?
go so fast.
Yeah. I used to say
Uh,
that to you. I remember, like, how
yeah,
do you just move on? And you were like, well,
yeah,
what am I supposed to do? And I was like, good
right.
point.
Right. Because it was harming me to hold on to it. But what I realized on the other end of it was when I just kept forgiving without expressing my needs or for
Right.
there being any consequences to those needs being met, then the behavior just kept going on. And the person was like, well, what's the point of changing? Why should I change? There's no need.
So that's a little confusing for the tip that I'm asking, the question I'm asking, which is how do you allow yourself to forgive more easily? But you can't forgive too easily because then the lesson is not learned.
This is the core answer to that. I want us to define and reframe forgiveness not as a gift we're giving someone else, but a gift we're giving ourselves. I think we have to separate the idea of forgiveness being an allowance of trampling our boundaries or even an allowance of being in our lives. That's different than I forgive you. Like my soul, my energy is no longer holding on to the harm and the pain. I'm letting you go. I'm letting go of that and I'm letting you go. But that doesn't mean you get to be in my life and keep creating harm. Those are two very different things. So forgiveness is an internal act of love for yourself.
Yeah.
Like really looking at where is my system being polluted by where I'm holding on to this resentment? And can I let go of this resentment for myself without thinking that that then needs to translate into allowing more harm to take place from this person? That's not the same. It's just where can I let go of this and move on? And I've really had to go through this practice with my ex-husband of letting go of the harm and forgiving him for it. We do not have a relationship where
Right.
he's allowed to be in my life intimately enough to create harm anymore, but he's forgiven for those things, which has allowed me to kind of have enough weightlessness to travel to the next level of my evolution and not be stuck in the past with him.
And I think to also have the type of relationship you have with TJ, your husband now,
Yeah.
if you were holding on to all of that anger, I think it would
Right.
rear its ugly head in your current relationship as well.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point because we will project so much on people. And without letting go, without forgiving my ex, I would have absolutely put TJ in the same category
Right.
mistakenly out of a place of defensiveness and trying to protect myself because I hadn't let go of old stuff. So anyway, that's the first thing is like, let's just
Yeah,
really reframe forgiveness as a gift to yourself of an
totally.
internal letting go process and separate it from the idea that you have to continue to allow harm or even allow the person to still be in your life if they're creating it. But there's some common things we can also talk about as you're thinking about forgiving people who you want to be in relationship with.
Yes.
You
Let's
want to do
do
it?
that. Please.
Okay. The first is really weighing the cost benefit analysis of
Oh,
holding
beep
on
bop,
to
beep
the
boop boop.
thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Like use your inner calculator
Okay.
and really calculate, okay, so this person did this thing to me. What does holding on to it do to help me? How does it serve me to hold on to it? And there will be an answer. Usually the answer is, well, it's protecting me from allowing the person to do it again.
Right.
Is there another answer you could think of? How does it help you to hold on to the experience?
What did you just say your answer was? And I said
It
right because I
protects
heard
you
it, but then
from
I forgot.
allowing, yeah, it protects you from allowing it to happen to you again. That's what we think. Is like
That's
if I
what I
hold on
think.
to it, I won't fool me once, fool me twice.
Right, right. Now I know what's up. That's kind of it. But also like I feel like it's in some ways an uncontrollable like monster. Like I'm telling you I don't like it, but like it just resides in me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that's common. And I think again, it resides in you because the behavior hasn't changed.
Okay. So,
So that's hard. I mean, we can get to it, but
right.
I guess what I'm saying is as a baby step number 1 is what is the benefit of holding on to this thing to
No
me?
benefit. There is no
Okay.
benefit. We know
What is
that.
the cost?
My own happiness, I think. My own ability to take a one situation and see it just as that situation. I mean, it's always like, but this has happened six
Mhm.
times before. I mean, everybody goes through this in their marriage. Even like the
Mhm.
best marriages are like, everyone is like, this keeps happening. I mean, there are
Yep.
core issues in every marriage where people are like, this just consistently happens and nothing changes. I'm sure he feels that exact way about me,
Yep. Yeah.
but
So,
he's wrong.
um the cost I'm hearing you say is like it's robbing you of the present moment because it's pulling you back to the past and you're like
Right.
adding up all of the
Yeah.
evidence.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So the reason that I say you do this calculation is because often the cost outweighs the benefit. And if
Right.
you can help your mind understand that and your system understand, oh, actually, this holding on to this thing is costing me so much more. It's robbing me of the present moment. It's robbing me of my joy. It's weighing me down. I notice myself thinking about this, for 20% of the day, which is not making it possible for me to think about other things or focus on myself. Like really get clear on what is the cost, what is the benefit of doing it.
Another
What do
one
you
for
think?
marriages in particular, I was just thinking is that as my for me anyway, as my children are getting older, and this can apply to other people, I think they will become more aware of any negative energy I'm holding on to, and then that will somehow shape and frame their way of thinking because
Yeah,
they're moldable little minds, and then that will then move on to their relationships in the future. So that's another cost I'm just
absolutely.
putting on my tally list.
Yeah, that's great, but that's what I
Thanks.
want. I want you
Yeah,
guys
yeah,
to do a
yeah.
tally list because then at least you're aware
Right,
of what it's costing you to
right.
hold on to this thing and
Yeah.
not let it go. Um, the second thing is, again, are you confusing forgiveness with lacking boundaries in your life? Do you believe that if you forgive and let go, that means you don't have to or need to put up boundaries with this person? Because those are two very, very, very different things. So I will forgive you, but I will not allow you to continue to harm me.
Right.
Right? So when you're working with forgiveness, the idea becomes I'm going to let it out of my system because the cost is too high. And I'm also going to be accountable for the structures I'm putting in place in my own life to ensure that the harm doesn't continue to happen to me. Whatever that is, speaking up more, taking space, um, being more self-advocating, being more clear about your needs, having some consequences to things. You know, if you're going to be disrespectful, you don't get my time, you don't get my energy. Like, what is the consequence to harming you?
Right.
And putting those consequences in place for other people to protect yourself from continuous harm. But forgiveness is not about that. Forgiveness is just letting go of the bad energy, the bad
Yeah.
weighing down moment. The boundary is really keeping you from allowing yourself to keep experiencing that harm. Um, and I think that that goes to this, like, you know, that concept, like, I will forgive, but I'll never forget.
Right. Which I don't really feel like is forgiveness. Or is
I
it?
think that's what it means to say, is like, listen, you're forgiven, but this information around the harm that's been created is going to go into my calculator
Which is
and is
fair.
going to help me understand, how am I going to interact with you?
Yeah.
If I
That's
tell
fair.
you a secret about a penis bomb
Right.
and then
And then
you
you
say it to
share
the
it.
public,
Yeah. I
do
know.
I then next time tell you a secret like this?
No. The answer is no.
Right. But you will. But
True.
you know what I'm saying? Like, um, if you don't forget, I don't think it's like you're holding on to it. It's that, oh, I'm taking this as a data point, putting it into
Right.
my calculation for, how am I going to be with you? How do I, and then if trust has been lost, okay, I'm going to acknowledge that. And am I open to allowing you to regain trust from me by repairing the thing you did that caused me to lose trust in the first place?
What if the repair does not occur? How does one then move forward with the continued forgiveness?
Boundaries. Because remember, forgiveness is an internal process. So you're letting it go for yourself, but you're also putting boundaries in place so that you're not in a situation where the person can misuse your trust again. You're not telling the secret. You're not inviting them into your internal circle. You're not as vulnerable maybe with that person because they've lost the trust. Those are the boundaries. Those are the consequences, but you've let it go. You're not holding on to the anger and resentment either.
Can we use an example that relates back to marriage? Because I do think not only am I here to learn, but I really think that in a lot of
But
people's
I'm in a
lives,
therapy session right
it will
now.
be like parents or spouse or romantic
Yeah.
partner. You know what I mean? People
Yeah.
who are the most involved in your life,
Yeah.
who also therefore are able to cause whatever level of frustration they cause because they are so
Yeah.
present in your life. Um, you made the example of you didn't pick the kids up on Friday and it keeps
Right.
happening and I keep telling you and you still don't do it. So in that example, I'm just trying to make this a little more tangible. How do you forgive? You say, okay, you didn't pick up the kids. What's a boundary there?
What are the ways that you are making this person's life easier that you can also now back up from doing because they're not meeting you with the same level of
Interesting.
love, respect, value, and say, okay, so you can't invest time in me going to my yoga class on Fridays. That means that on Wednesdays when I do XYZ, I'm going to use that time for me and not for you.
Fascinating.
I mean,
Sounds so
that's,
harsh. I know. You're right,
but
though.
it's not. It's a
Yeah.
boundary. It's like, this is
Right.
a need. I expressed it. You're my loving partner. We're
Right.
supposed to be meeting each other's needs. You can't meet it. I'm going
Yeah.
to go get it met. And I'm going to have to get it met at the cost of the way that I was showing up for you because you're not showing up in the same way for me.
It's soul care. Shout out to our last episode.
Okay.
Soul care.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that there are some things we can practice in our art of forgiveness.
Yes.
So I keep saying it's an internal process. What are some things you can do to practice making this happen? The first is like, what is your level of understanding and context to the situation? Sometimes when we have so much anger towards someone, it's because we're not looking at the situation contextually.
Right.
What are the external pressures? What else is happening? What might have
Yeah.
happened in their past? Why might they be acting this way? Which goes to the second thing, which is empathy,
I was
right?
just going to say
Understanding and
empathy.
empathy.
Yeah, empathy
Yeah.
is
So
really
like,
key. I think that's why I'm able to forgive so often is because I do believe I'm pretty empathetic and I teach my kids to be and to understand, they may have been really cruel to you, but you have no idea what their morning looked like. You don't
right.
know how they entered this situation.
Great example. They were cruel to you. let's not judge them or hate them. Let's
Right.
let go of that resentment, and let's not allow them in your inner circle to keep being cruel to you.
Correct. That's what I
That's
said. I
an
said,
example of
yeah,
forgiveness
for
with
sure.
boundaries.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So the empathy allows you to let it go because you're putting yourself in their shoes and saying, okay, when I'm having a bad day, I snap at people.
Yeah, for
Or
sure.
when I'm feeling under pressure, I don't necessarily show up in my higher self. So this person probably is in that kind of scenario and they're not showing up at their higher self. I can let it go because I have a deeper level of understanding for it than if you don't take the time to do that.
And to
So
tie this back to marriage, I just had an epiphany. I'm never factoring in that he is also coming to the table with his inability to forgive, just as
yep,
I'm coming to it. So he is approaching the situations
yep,
just as I am, but I'm like, have such tunnel vision that I can't even think like, well, all these things I did brought him
yep,
here, and then
yep,
he's not respecting X, Y, and Z. But like, we're kind of in the same boat then in that way.
totally.
So if I
And I
give
do
a little
agree.
compassion and patience,
Yes, that is
yes,
a
just
really good
solves
point.
world
We just
peace.
solved it. You're welcome, Corey. Um, you said the other word, the other kind of tip is compassion. Like empathy is one thing. Okay, I get
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Compassion is then adding that love and like,
Yeah.
oh, that
Yeah.
I care about you. Like
Right.
that is a really isolating process you're in where you
Yeah.
didn't get love from mom, so now you whatever. You know what I mean? Like having compassion for whatever that person is going through allows you a deeper level of empathy. It
Right.
allows you to bring love in, which is the most
Yeah.
healing energy on the planet.
Yes.
Again, that doesn't mean you allow continual harm. It just means you have a loving approach towards, I see you, I understand your core intent, I see your soul, I see your higher self. I'm going to allow your soul to go be free and be its higher self by not holding on to the time you didn't show up as your higher self. Doesn't mean you get to keep coming around and fucking around with me.
And I think that if you are able to adopt that mentality, you do become less triggered. And there
Yeah.
is less to like quote unquote forgive or let go of because you're more understanding of the situation. I just need to apply my life mentality inward a little bit.
Yes,
That's it. There we
exactly.
go. There we go, guys.
Ding!
Ding.
Light bulb. Um, I have this issue. I'm curious. Like, part of forgiveness is also maybe letting go of some expectations we have of other people. I
It's
can
pretty
tell you
hard.
one of mine is that I
Oh,
noticed this is my toxic trait. I
you don't
hate
have
being left
toxic
out of
traits.
stuff. I hate being left out of stuff.
I love being left out of stuff. You and I are like so different in so many ways, but so similar. Like I could
I
care
hate it.
less if you leave me out of
I
stuff.
take it so personally.
Bean,
I
everybody
know.
wants to
It's a
be
core
around you.
wound.
I love you.
It's a thanks,
I
Bean. I
always
think
want
you're
you at my
biased, but
party.
I know. Well, you and I
Yeah,
alone at the
it's the
party.
best party.
Um, but until Bean asks you why you don't speak to your father, and then womp womp.
I'll
But
just play the Humpback Whale soundtrack and everything will be back on track. Snippety snap.
oh, you know what I forgot to tell you about that? Sorry,
Oh,
guys. We got to go back to this for a second. I just have to say what was so fascinating. I got distracted by, I don't even
sorry.
know what you were
I
doing
don't
or
know.
saying.
Sorry.
Is that what the researchers want to do? Is that they're going to take all of these click, 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 click. They're going to add it. They're going to layer AI on top of it to
Ooh,
create
yeah.
language. They're going to go play it down under, not in Australia, but in the ocean.
On the
And
Bobby.
then they're going to listen for if there's responses. Stop.
We're going to be talking to dogs any minute, and you know it. And I can't wait. My dog is just going to be like, I love you. I love you. I love you. Hug me. I love you. That's all my
Feed
dog
me.
is going to say. Feed
Yeah,
me. I love you.
totally. Anyway, I just had to add that. Isn't that? I
Wow.
mean, that was the main. I
That's
really
really mind
buried the
blowing.
headline on that delight.
Yeah. Wow.
Anyway, so expectations. Like, I think I expect people to just always be considering me, which is
I do.
so fucking stupid. Like, what? Why should everyone be thinking about you all the time? People got
Because you're
shit to
great, B.
do.
Yeah. I
Maybe it's
totally
your
agree.
fault. It's your fault. It's
Maybe.
my mom's fault. It's Anais's fault. All these people who like just poor TJ.
I'm
You
like,
guys
you're
have
the
like
best.
spoiled me.
Yeah, you're the best. Everyone should want you around. And if they don't, you should be mad.
Okay, see, that's the problem. So, like, some of forgiveness for me, at least, is like let go of some expectations you have of
Yeah.
people that are
Yeah. Yeah.
unrealistic and
Yeah.
unfair and not compassionate and don't have empathy.
Right. Right. And that's hard to look at yourself like that. It's hard to have forgiveness with yourself.
Boom.
Oh my God, this is going off the rails, but I really think
No,
it's a
it
lot of
hasn't.
good points.
Yeah,
Yeah, we didn't make a
we
callback
do.
to the humpback whales and how I was telling my dog's gonna talk, but I really think there's a lot of solid shit in here.
Good. I'm
Yes.
glad you agree with
I
my
hope the
opinion.
listeners agree. Yes. So let go of expectations. Everybody doesn't
Yeah.
have to want you around all the time, Bean. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but I do.
No.
But everybody else doesn't have to.
What are some benefits of forgiving besides clearing yourself?
You were like,
No, I'm
stop
serious.
talking. No, I
No,
know.
no.
I fully
I'm serious.
agree.
Like, I do think that sometimes when you want to do something, you have to understand again, like, what's this for?
Totally. And one of the things that I noticed that I thought was amazing, and I truly believe that, like, I said it up top that holding on to anger and frustration and all of these things is destroys you, destroys your body,
Yeah.
destroys your soul. And there is a lot of evidence about how forgiveness impacts physical well being. Would you like me to list some off? Okay, I
Oh
will.
my God.
Studies.
I love when I'm the historian and you're the scientist. Go.
It
Put
feels
on your white.
feels very out of character for me.
What? You're
Um,
always the white lab coat. I need research and data
I
to
need the
prove
research, but
this.
I don't share the research. But yes, I did. And I already know this for a fact. And I do believe that it can cause tremendous harm inside your body, holding on to that. It's bad.
Totally.
Bad news, guys. The good news,
Mm.
studies have found that the act of forgiveness can reap huge rewards for your health. Get ready for this: lowering the risk of a heart attack, improving cholesterol levels, and sleep,
Mm.
which I think sleep is critical to
Improving
all.
cholesterol levels? That's like
Mhm.
magic.
Reducing pain, blood pressure, anxiety, depression,
Mhm.
stress. Um, and there's research points to an increase in the forgiveness health connection as you age.
Oh, so
So,
the older you get, the more important this is to your well-being.
yes. And I think it helps
Oh,
you in the long term if you forgive earlier on and you aren't holding on to all of that negative energy, negative
yeah.
emotion that's circulating through your body. All these people who are out for vengeance all the time, it's slowly like killing you.
Yeah, it's killing you. That's
Yeah,
the benefit, man. Don't let your body
right.
have to become victim to holding on to resentment.
That of someone else's actions. Like, don't
Right.
let your own body be so attacked because of the
Yeah.
doing of somebody else, right?
Oh,
Like, take
that is the
control of that.
ultimate reason.
Yeah, and taking
Yeah.
control of your emotional state. If you or if you take control of releasing that negative energy that's causing all this harm, that's on you, bruh.
On you, bruh.
But it's really hard. I totally get it. It's really hard, especially if it's something that consistently shows up in your life.
Yeah, totally. Wow, Bean, that was really good. I actually thank you for putting on the white lab coat for
Yes,
us in this moment.
anytime.
And it wouldn't be an
Anytime.
episode unless we ended it with Melissa's famous takeaways. So, Bean, please, please take us away.
I just want to say that I'm not kidding you. I'm not just saying this because it's my own podcast. Every single time, I literally do have a takeaway that I did not have entering the pod. Like
I
every
know
single
this
time,
is authentic, real stuff, y'all.
every single time. And every time I think, like, how am I going to have some fresh hot take when, like, we have an outline? Like, how am I ever? But we always go
You
so off the
do.
rails that I always am able to glean some new piece of knowledge. And the one I took away from this one is that forgiveness is so much about more about ourselves. It always sound the word even is associated with like forgiving others and those around
Yeah.
you, but the true benefit is for you. Like, you could forgive
Yes.
someone who doesn't even know you've forgiven, and it doesn't impact them in any way, right? Like, you
Right.
could forgive
Right.
someone from your past who you don't speak to anymore, but it's
Yep.
for you. It's to
Yes.
release and to let go. And
Yes.
that has physical repercussions and emotional it's like a cleansing. And like,
Yes.
what is the benefit to keeping it all bottled up inside? There is no benefit.
None.
You are not protecting yourself. You are actually creating greater internal harm by holding on to it. But I think people probably use it as a method, a means of feeling safe, like we talked about.
Right.
Like, if I
Protection.
have this knowledge and I'm really mad about it, it can't happen to me again. First of all, it can happen to you again, even
Exactly.
with the knowledge, and it will happen to you
Yes.
again in different situations. So releasing and letting go, and then you can better able tackle that situation when it does arise again because you're clearer on the inside. Namaste.
Beautiful. As always, so well said. All right. Well, Bean, do you forgive me for the penis bomb?
I do. I forgive you.
drop?
And you know what?
Thank
I wasn't
you.
going to do it. I'm a nice
I
person.
know. That's why I said it. I'm like, there's no
What if I
way
was going to do it?
you
And you
weren't.
just called
There's
me out.
no way you were going to do it, which is why I thought, why not share it with our audience so that if they want to do it, they can go to penisbomb.com. No, I'm just kidding.
If you don't forgive, there are penis poppers out there to help with your resentment, to cleanse the soul. Penis poppers for the soul.
On that note, guys, thank you for listening. As always, you can support the show by sharing this with your friends, family, neighbor,
go on YouTube and see my weird tank top.
Someone who needs to forgive you, who you need to forgive. Go watch this on YouTube and see her tank top. And always leave us a review. And just tune in next time. We can't wait to talk to you again next week. Bye, Bean.
Bye.
Hey guys, before we go this week, we just have someone that we want to put some focus on, shine some light on, begrudgingly.
Pop some poppers.
Our incredible, beautiful, magnificent, deeply intuitive, such a passionate, loving, incredible human of a producer, Anais, is leaving us for a new adventure.
Wait. Can we insert some like a applause track here?
Yeah, insert applause track, guys. Anais has found an incredible opportunity, which is going to take her away from producing this podcast. And honestly, Bean and I weren't even going to talk about it because I don't think that we are good with it in our minds yet. We're very excited for Anais, but we are very, very, very sad for us. And I just want to say, and then Bean, I'll let you say too, but so much of Signal and the way that it has evolved has to do with Anais and her vision for it. And also her presence during our recordings and the hundreds of times she has to break in and be like, guys, you're making no sense. Let's get back on track here.
But also that role.
Exactly. Also the insanely insightful questions she asks to get us to really go even deeper and be even more helpful with the content. So I just want to take a minute to say, Anais, there is never, ever, ever going to be a replacement to fill your massive glittering shoes.
Wow.
We adore you. I love you so much. Anais is my baby sister cousin, so I still get to see her, as does Bean. But not having you as part of this is truly a loss for us, and we'll miss you a lot.
I very much agree. I second everything you said. And I'd also like to say as much, Bean, don't cry because then I'll cry. As much as Bean supports me and has fostered so much growth, I'd have to say in this setting, Anais has fostered the most growth in me with her supportive behind the scenes words, her redirection. She's like really, I feel like taught me the game here. Like I came in with zero knowledge. And I'm not sick. I'm knocking it out of the park yet, but I have to credit her with almost every as where I am now. I have to give most of the credit to Anais. She's really been fundamental in literally every aspect of this podcast. She has her hand in every single one. And now we're going to go it at our own for a little bit and see how we do.
Whoop-de-doo. Let's see. Wish us luck. It's going to be the freaking Wild West of circuses. But anyway, Anais, we love you. We wish you all the best. And thank you for everything you've done for Signal, for me and Bean, and for our listeners. Mwah.
Mwah.